Alright, hello. We're back with another installation of the MiniBrute cookbook series I'm doing. Today we are working on The Drone by Victor Morello. It's another pretty simple patch, but you know, as always, we have to start with a null patch, so let's get back to business here. Get everything back to where it's supposed to naturally be-ish. Now the basic premise of what's happening with this sound is that it's more or less just a drone. So what we're going to start off with is we're going to start off with some sound, right? So we're going to start off with a saw wave and a little bit of oscillator too, maybe 3/4 of it, 3/4 of the way up. Now we don't hear anything, obviously, because we're not playing anything. But if we turn this attenuator 2, goes right to our amplitude, still nothing. Why are we not getting anything? Oh, the filter, duh. So with the filter being low, obviously nothing's going to come through. If we start turning it up, obviously you can hear it, right? So what we're going to do for right now is we're just going to keep that amplitude off so that we can still, you know, do stuff without just hearing that drone constantly behind us. What we need to do now is start to move it around a little bit, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to bring oscillator LFO 1, give it a little bit of movement there, some rate. All right, we're going to go from LFO 1 over here in our patch bay to, it's going to go to the FM input on the ADSR for the filter. Okay, turn that up just a little bit. And now what's going to happen is the LFO is going to affect the filter. Very little bit, but just enough. Now we're 2 octaves down, right? Well, let's just get this going on its own so I don't have to hold the button down. Alright, so we turn attenuator 2 all the way up. It turns the amplitude all the way up. Now we can hear what's happening. Excuse me. Resonance up just a little bit. Cut off down a little bit more, just a tiny bit. And now here's where things start to get really interesting. If we take this ultra saw, right? It's very subtle, but it adds some movement. Okay? My cable wasn't completely plugged in. There we go. Turn it down just a tiny bit. Obviously we can turn the speed, the rate down a little bit with the LFO up here, and then we adjust how much the LFO affects the filter. The FM knob, okay? Now something Something else that's interesting too is that the ultrasaw amount is already naturally routed to LFO2. Okay, so we can actually add some of that in there too to make it interesting. So if we get that ultrasaw back up again, it's kind of hard to tell what's happening with it, but as we speed up LFO2, you can see the LED here. There we go. You can start to hear that a little bit of a chorusy effect, right? If we just open up the filter so we can hear what's happening. If we open up the filter so we can hear what's happening. You can hear when I turn up the ultrasaw, it starts to do a little bit of, you know, sort of a phasiness kind of a thing going on, right? Which changes a lot based on this LFO2, right? So if we put our filter back into it and give it some movement with the LFO1 again, turn the volume back up here. All of a sudden that movement becomes so subtle, but so tasty. Now we can take this one step further. That's what I like to do, take and put one oscillator on the entire. And I'm going to make this back to a square saw width. But you can hear how it's a little bit off from itself because it's like the two oscillators are like phasing against each other. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take the output from oscillator 2 into the sync of oscillator 1. So now they're the same pitch. Whatever 2 is what 1 is. There we go. Put that filter back on the resonance back on the filter. Get a little movement from LFO1 there. Maybe put a little brute factor in it. Just for good measure. Turn the volume down just a tiny bit. Now, it also says to put it through your favorite reverb and delay. However, let's just turn that off for now. My favorite reverb unit is acting up and I have to fix it. So, no reverb today. No fun stuff like that today. However, as you can see, it's a very simple patch. Right? Super simple patch. Nothing crazy going on there. The only thing we really added was the only thing we really added to the patch was this here, the sync between oscillator 1 and 2. And that's just to keep the pitches a little bit closer, a little bit more uniform. I mean, if we got rid of it, it's like we can still do the same thing. We're just going to get a little bit of slot between the oscillators, so to speak. Also, I want to change this to a bandpass just to see turn the resonance down a little bit. I don't really like how much resonance is on the bandpass filter on this thing. But you can make it kind of interesting. Negative resonance modulation, it'll go whichever direction the LFO, it's already linked to the LFO1. So when LFO1 is sweeping the filter up, the resonance is going up with it, but the resonance modulation is actually bringing the resonance down as it goes higher. So you can turn the resonance up a little bit, and you can hear how it's there in the lower register of when the filter is coming up, like it's there, but then as it gets higher up, the resonance kind of rolls off the top. And I kind of like that. Turn that brute factor down a little bit. Now, to run that through like a tube amp, like a tube saturator, would be, oh, that would be amazing. As it stands, I don't have that kind of stuff. So we'll stick with the low drone for now. So there you have it. Nice, simple, low drone to use in your sounds and productions. Yeah, this one. I think this one sounds great. As always, this synth just sounds awesome. It's really easy to get good sounds out of it. Any questions or comments? Leave them in the down below, and then we can go from there.